Today I'm going to show you how to make Chackers Anyone bracelet. These are the supplies that you'll need to make the Chackers Anyone bracelet. You'll need a tube of Tilas, and you can use color of your choice. In this case I used black. A tube of 11O seeds and a tube of 15O seed beads, a clasp of your choice, 2 wire protectors, and approximately 100 3mm crystals. Fireline, I used smoke in this case because I'm using black beads, and your favorite needles. This bracelet is called Chackers Anyone, and for it you will need some Tilas and crystals and 11O seed beads and 15O seed beads. It's a right angle weave, and we will start first with a Tila and a crystal, a Tila, a crystal, a Tila, and a crystal. And so, and another Tila. You will notice now you should have 4 Tilas and 4 crystals to start. And this is right angle weave. So we're going to start with a comfortable length of Fireline. And I'm using the smoke colored Fireline because I'm using black Tilas. Now you want to tie these in a knot and a ring, and they will take the shape of, and I double knot it. You're going to use this tail later on, so we don't have to have a lot of tail, 8 to 10 inches. And you're going to work it in later and get rid of that tail, so it doesn't matter that you have a whole bunch left. Now, it's important that you go through all of these beads again. And the reason for this, and you'll do this in every step, and the reason for it is that you want to have some stability to it, and you want to use a rather tight tension, but not too tight, because if you make it too tight, it will want to buckle. So you want to just pull to where it's pretty tight, but not buckling. And once we go through all of these beads again, you're now at the top of this Tila. Actually, it will become your top. So now you'll notice that it forms a little square rather than a bunch of beads in a circle. So now we're going to pick up a 15 and a crystal, and 11 and another crystal. And you notice this thread is coming out the top left of this Tila. We want to cross, make it diagonal, and go into the bottom Tila from the right side. And it forms a diagonal line. And when you pull this, you'll see that it forms. If I can get it to, there it goes. Now it's straight across. So now what you're going to do is pick up a 15 and a crystal, and you're going to go back through that 11 that's in the center. And it doesn't matter if you go from the bottom to the top or from the top to the bottom, because it will fall right in place. And then you'll pick up another crystal and another 15, and you're going to go back through the bottom hole still of the Tila on top, and then it forms like a little X inside of this. Sometimes it's a little hard when you've got a crystal in the way, but just push it out of the way, and now you notice that it forms a little X in the center. And sometimes it's, it wants to buckle. Just keep going. And another thing, these little Tilas will kind of flip backwards and go in every direction. Ignore it, because we're going to straighten it up at the end, and I'll show you how to do that later. Okay, now you want to pick up 2 15s and you're going to go back in the top hole of the Tila. And if you don't pick up those 2/15s, that's all right. Don't rip it apart thinking that later on you're going to have to rip the whole thing. You won't have to. So now you have the first, and you notice you have 4 on here. Right angle weave, you start with 4, and it's a series of X's or circles. But now you're going to pick up 3 because this bottom will be the first one of the set of 4 on your next one. I know it sounds... Okay, so now we've picked up a crystal, a Tila, a crystal, a Tila, a crystal, a Tila, and a crystal. And I like to check it again, make sure you have 3 Tilas and 4 crystals. And now we're going to put this back through, take your needle back through the top hole of that Tila in the last step. And once you pull this tight again, now you'll notice you have 3 on here. Actually, you have 4 if you count the one from the last one, because now it makes another square. But with right angle weave, always this last one becomes the first one of your next triangle or square. Now it's important that you not skip the next step. This step is that you need to go through all of these beads again and come out the very first Tila again. And the reason that you need to do that is because it needs to be sort of rigid. And you notice it's kind of floppy, and it will be some floppy, but you don't want it so floppy that you can't work with it. And the reason that you need to do that is for that. Okay, so now we're going to be back to where this Tila started with the first one. And now we're at the starting point. But now we're ready to put this in the center. Okay, so in this step now we're going to pick up a 15, a crystal, an 11, a crystal, and a 15, just like you did last time in the last step. And you're going to go through the bottom hole of that Tila again. And now you see it's forming the same thing it did last time, this little X from here. So we want to pick up another 15 and a crystal, and you're going to go back through that 11. And if you don't, you can go either way, up or down, it doesn't matter, as long as you get it through that center 11, because that's kind of like the center of, it forms like a little flower almost. Now you pick up another crystal and a 15, and you're going to go back through this Tila again on the bottom. Now that one is ready to begin the next one, but you're down here and you need to be coming out of this crystal, so you need to go through, or Tila I mean, so you need to go through the crystal and a Tila and a crystal and back to this Tila. But now you need to be coming out the top, and this is one that you add, where you add these 2 little 15s on the side. So you pick those 2 15s up and go through the top hole of the Tila. And now you're in a position to start the next one. And if you kind of work with a right angle weave and you've done enough of it, you realize you'll know where your next step is, that you're down here, you need to be up here, work your way through the beads. And now you notice that this has 2 little seed beads on the side, but it doesn't have it on this side. And it looks lopsided, but we're going to fix that at the end, and I'll show you how to do that. So now you're ready to begin the third one. And I used, usually these little sets, you can figure that 12 of these sets are going to make about a 7-inch, which is about an average bracelet. So you're just ready to begin the next step. And you'll continue this until you get to the desired length of the bracelet. Okay, so now we're at the desired length, and we're ready to put our clasp on. And so what we're going to do is use 11s at the end. And I usually pick up an extra one, so I would say normally 3 I use, but this is a good place if you have, if you're at the end and you think you need more length in this bracelet, this is a good place to add some seed beads and get a little length and make it a little bit longer. And sometimes that's just enough to finish it. So I'm picking up 4 here, and then I've put my wire protector on this clasp already, and I'm going through 1/2 of the wire protector and around the loop and back down. And what I do is I usually go through the first bead again, and that gives me, it's not quite like a loop like that, it's more of a clasp fitting rather than a loop. And sometimes when you end up with just a whole bunch of seed beads in there, you don't get the same look, and you end up with it wants to go lopsided or something. So now to straighten this up, I'm going to pick up 3 more 11s, and I'm going to go back down this Tila bead. And it's important that you do this next step, that you go through, and you see how this made more of a V, and it tightens this clasp. It looks so much nicer than just a loop going through this. Now, it's important that you go back through these again and go back through all the beads again and go through, and I usually do it at least twice, and maybe 3. If you can get through it 3 times, sometimes your needle is a little large and you can't get through that. But the reason that you do that is because this is your stress point in the whole bracelet. And if you don't have enough protection there, even with the wire protector and the other things that you do to it, it still can weaken it. Now, if you notice too that it's a little hard sometimes to get back through that, especially on the 3rd pull, if you're going back through it 3 times, what I try to do is take that needle off, and Fireline is usually pretty strong thread, so I take the needle off and go through it, push it through, and then put the needle back on when you get through. And it's an easy way to get it going again. But now, for the sake of getting it, showing you what to do on the side here, we're going to go right down. And so now we're ready to put the embellishments on the other side. And you notice that you have the 2 on this side. So what we're going to do is pick up 2 more 15s, and you're going to go back through this Tila, and you now have, so it's even on this side. Now we're going to keep on going through this side and go through this crystal, and you're going to pick up 2 more 15s and go down through the Tila. And you'll see a big difference in this now, how this starts to pull together. It's not quite so flimsy. And you noticed before that the Tilas want to fall all over the place, and you're going, why are they doing this? It's because you haven't finished yet when you get to this point. You see how it pulled that tight right away. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more 15s and go back through the crystal. And there's already 2 15s. You're just going to continue through those 2 15s and through the crystal. You see how it pulled that tight? And 2 more 15s. What you're doing basically is you're filling in everywhere that there's a space. And you notice now these don't flop, and that's why. So basically what you're going to do is you're just filling in these all the way down to the end. And when we get to the end, back through the crystal, through the 15s, and through the next crystal. And you're going to continue this all the way down the full length of the bracelet to the end of the clasp. Okay, so now we've gone down to the end and we've added a clasp the same way we did before. Pick up 4 11s and your clasp and back out through and pick up 3 more 11s. And you want to reinforce that at least twice. Now this side's going to be a little bit different because you ended up with no beads on this side. So you notice that we had no beads here. So what we're going to do is go through this bottom hole of the Tila. But now you're saying, okay, I'm on the opposite side now. Just come back out. Go in through the top hole again and back out. So now you're ready to begin this side, and it's a little bit different because you have these 2 seed beads that you didn't have before, you now have on this side. So you're going to pick up the 2 seeds and go through that crystal, pick up 2 more 15s, and go through the Tila on the outside edge. And this is just tightening everything up again. So now everywhere you have a gap, you'll be adding 2 15s. So you need 2 15s here. You're going to go through this crystal. And then you'll notice that there's no 15s in here, so you're going to add 2 15s there. And that's the only difference from this side to the other side. But you notice how it just laid flat now. And pick up 2 15s, and instead of going in through that Tila, you're going to be going through this little crystal each time. And you're just going to continue this all the way down this side till you get to the end. And usually what I do is I tie several half-hitch knots in between somewhere in here and work in through your working. And work in your other tail. And you have a darling little bracelet. And here's your finished bracelet.